If I could go back in time, I'd beg myself not to say yes that night at dinner. Back then, it felt perfect. The dress, the ring, the way he looked at me under the restaurant lights. It was like something out of a movie. I just didn't realize the genre was psychological thriller and I was the clueless lead. My name is Isabella. I'm 33, an architect, and for a long time, I thought I had gotten lucky in love. That's what everyone said, that I had found a rare man. Mature, grounded, polite, and handsome. Gabriel was attractive, tall, well-dressed, the type who always knew what to say, when to smile, how to make people like him. He had just enough charm to keep you hooked, but not enough to set off alarms. We met at a coffee shop near my old office. He spilled my drink, apologized, bought me a new one, and within seconds he was laughing at my miserable Monday face. It felt easy, effortless. Too easy, maybe. Within weeks, he knew my favorite order, sent flowers to my office, and insisted on walking me to my car even when I didn't ask. I told my friends he was a prince who knew how to be a man. They laughed. They said I'd finally found someone on my level of status, maybe, because I had my own apartment. My car was fully paid off. My design company was growing, and my last name opened doors even when I preferred going through the side entrance. But you know what really made me believe it was love? He listened to me. When I talked about work stress, he'd nod like he understood. When I vented about my mother's passive-aggressive comments, he'd squeeze my hand and say, "You're nothing like her." He noticed the little things. That I hated cilantro. That I always flipped my pillow before sleeping. That I cried at credit card commercials, but only the ones with dogs. Looking back, it was almost too perfect. Like he had studied me. But I didn't question it then. I was too busy falling. 6 months in, he moved into my place. Said it was just practical since we were always together anyway. I agreed. It felt natural. He offered to help with bills, but every time the rent came, he'd forget his wallet or say his bank was holding a transfer. Small things. Nothing that felt wrong. Not yet. What I didn't realize back then was that he was taking notes, cataloging my routines, my passwords, my moods, my weaknesses. And slowly, he stopped being the man I fell for and started acting like he owned the life I built. The first real crack showed up on a random Thursday. He made a joke at dinner about how I should be grateful he didn't care that I made more money. I laughed it off. But something in his tone stuck with me. It wasn't teasing. It was resentful. I told myself I was imagining things. That maybe he was just tired. Work had been rough for him lately, or so he said. But deep down, something had shifted. I didn't know what yet. All I knew was, that version of him I met at the coffee shop, he was fading, and in his place, something colder was taking shape. And I kept asking myself, when did love start feeling like a transaction? The shift was subtle at first, barely noticeable. Gabriel stopped asking how my day was. He used to greet me at the door with a smile, sometimes even a glass of wine. Now, I'd come home and find him sprawled on the couch, eyes glued to his phone, barely looking up. When I asked what he was working on, he'd mumble something about networking or crypto opportunities, always vague, always convenient. And somehow, his financial problems kept multiplying. His bank froze his account. His cousin borrowed money. His last client delayed a payment. Every week, there was a new excuse. And every time, he'd come to me. At first, it was small. A few hundred here, a few transfers there. I didn't mind. We were partners, right? Couples help each other. That's what I told myself. But the pattern was too clean, too rehearsed. One night, I was reviewing our monthly expenses and realized something strange. Gabriel hadn't paid for anything substantial in months. No groceries, no bills, not even gas. And yet, he had new shoes, a fancy new watch, a gaming console I never saw him pay for. I remember staring at the receipt, my heart sinking. I wasn't angry, not yet. I was confused, hurt, and maybe a little ashamed. Had I been that blind? I confronted him the next morning calmly, asked if he was okay financially. He snapped, said I was acting like his boss, that I loved controlling people with money. That one stung, because I never used money against him. Not once. I even offered to help build his portfolio website. I introduced him to a few of my clients. But now, Suddenly, I was the villain. Something inside me cracked that day. A small, quiet voice I hadn't heard before whispered, "He doesn't love you. He loves your lifestyle." Still, I tried to silence it. We went to couples therapy, his idea, surprisingly. But he spent every session charming the therapist, cracking jokes, saying all the right things. Meanwhile, I felt like the bitter wife who didn't know how to let a man lead. Lead where, though? By month 10, he had full access to my home office, my laptop, my email. He claimed it was just in case he needed files for his startup, but sometimes I'd find my documents open, bank tabs pulled up, notes I didn't write. I changed my passwords. He noticed. That night, he didn't sleep in our bed, said he needed space. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how we'd gone from fairy tale to frost in less than a year. And the worst part, I hadn't told anyone, not my best friend, not even my sister. I was embarrassed. I'd built my entire life around independence and strength, and now here I was, walking on eggshells in my own home. But the real breaking point came 3 weeks later. I received a message on Instagram from a woman I didn't know. It said, "I'm sorry to come to you like this, but you deserve to know the truth. I've been seeing Gabriel for months, and I just found out you're his wife." My hands went numb. And then, she sent pictures. The photos weren't blurry. They weren't old. One was taken at a rooftop bar I didn't even know he'd been to. Another was in our car. My car. Him in the passenger seat, her in his lap, laughing. And then there was one that made my stomach twist. Gabriel in our apartment. Same couch. Same throw pillow. Same shirt he wore the night we watched a dumb documentary about whales. Except in this photo, he wasn't watching whales. He was kissing her. I didn't cry. Not right away. I stared at the screen for a long time, heart pounding, skin cold. The woman, her name was Carla, kept messaging. I thought he was divorced. He told me your marriage was just for appearances. He said you needed him for your image. That one hit hard, because suddenly, everything made sense. The charm, the perfect timing, the way he played the humble guy who didn't care about money but always needed mine. I asked Carla how long it had been going on. "Since before you two got married," she replied. Before. My vision went black for a second. That meant he proposed while sleeping with her. He kissed me at the altar with her lipstick probably still on his collar. And the sickest part, she didn't even sound angry, just tired, like she'd gone through her own version of him, her own story of lies and excuses, and it's not what it looks like. We talked for over an hour. She told me things I hadn't dared to think about, like how he had mentioned my work schedule, how he bragged about me getting too comfortable, how he joked that I'd never see it coming. Carla wasn't trying to destroy me. I think she was trying to save herself by telling me the truth. That night, I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I just stood in front of the bathroom mirror for 20 straight minutes, trying to recognize my own face. How could I have missed it? How did I not see the signs? And the cruelest thought of all, I still loved him. Not the man he was, but the illusion I built. The story I wanted so badly to be true. I didn't confront him that night. I didn't even text him. Instead, I stayed up until I'm copying files, screenshots, photos, bank records, emails, his phone backup, which, conveniently, synced to our shared cloud. The lies weren't just emotional. They were financial, legal, and somewhere between rage and heartbreak, a plan started forming. Not revenge. Not yet. But something colder, cleaner. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to disappear and take everything with me. For the next 2 weeks, I played the role of a lifetime. I smiled at dinner. I laughed at his lame jokes. I even bought his favorite wine. And every night, I watched him sleep like a baby while I planned his quiet collapse. Gabriel had no idea I knew. No clue that I had screenshots of him telling Carla I was useful but boring, that I'd seen the transfers from my account to his side business, the one he promised was still in development. He didn't know I'd spoken to a lawyer, or that I'd discovered the apartment was still legally mine. The business account had my name on every signature, and the prenup he never wanted to sign. Lucky for me, I had insisted, and my father's lawyer made sure it was ironclad. The man thought he was playing chess, but I built the board. And then, finally, I picked my moment. A Sunday brunch, his favorite. I had everything prepared: a neatly printed folder, a backup drive, and a letter not for him, but for the lawyer I'd already hired. Gabriel was halfway through his eggs when I said calmly, "I know about Carla." He froze. For half a second, he looked like he might faint. Then came the lies. "It's not what you think. She's crazy. You're paranoid. I can explain." I didn't flinch. I slid the folder across the table and said, "You don't need to explain. You need to read that carefully. Especially the part where I revoke your access to the company funds." His face went pale. I think that was the first time he really realized that I wasn't playing anymore. Then I stood up. "By the way, I changed the locks and the passwords. You have 48 hours to get your things. I won't be home." He tried to follow me to the car, raising his voice, pleading. He even fake cried. I didn't stop walking. I got in, closed the door, and watched him through the windshield. For the first time, I saw him clearly: a man who had no real power without a woman to manipulate. And I realized, he never broke me. He just made me dangerous. Gabriel tried. Oh, he tried. First came the guilt trips, then the threats, then the fake apologies. I ignored them all. He said I was overreacting, that I was ruining his life, that I was too cold for someone who used to love him. Used to. He never understood that I didn't stop loving him out of rage. I stopped out of clarity. When I looked back and saw the pattern, the timing of the romance, the money talk, the way he mirrored everything I liked, it all made sense. He studied me like a project. He loved how useful I was, how polished I looked on paper. He thought I'd make him look richer by association. And maybe I did, for a while. But when he lost me, he lost access to more than my bank account. He lost my silence. Because I didn't just cut him out. I told the truth, quietly, directly, to the right people. My clients, my accountant, my inner circle. I didn't shame him online. I didn't burn his clothes. I didn't need to. The version of him he worked so hard to sell, the loyal husband, the supportive entrepreneur, started to fall apart, all on its own. Turns out, when you remove the scaffolding, the fake building collapses fast. Carla? She disappeared too. Blocked him. Told me she was done being someone's accessory. Good for her. As for me, I took a week off. Stayed in a quiet cabin with no Wi-Fi. Read books. Ate like a human again. Let my body feel what my brain had been ignoring. Grief, relief, shame, pride. All of it. And when I came back, I didn't return to the same life. I renovated my apartment, cut my hair, changed my routines. Not to erase him, but to remind myself that this life is mine. Always was. People ask me now if I'd ever forgive him. I don't need to. Forgiveness isn't a favor I owe to people who used me. He doesn't get to be a part of my healing, not even as a footnote. And if I'm being honest, I'm glad it happened. Because the version of me that believed in men like him, she needed to be shattered, so I could meet the woman I am now. The quiet one, the precise one, the one who walks away not to escape, but to rebuild.